Woo! Cool, kids. Did I just get a workout hauling the silver I just had to grab from the storage place to do this video? Wow. I bet you that thing, oh my goodness. Now don't get me wrong, it was like all in like one tight space. Here, I'll show you guys. Oh my goodness. I bet that weighs 80 pounds. Anyway, you know, 80 pounds on dumbbells ain't the same as 80 pounds on some binders. Yeah, it's kind of awkward, you know. Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, cool kids. This video is a two-parter. Well, not two videos, but we're going to do all in one video. But there's two things we're covering today. We're going to cover the difference between, so you guys hear about hyperinflation, right? Hyperinflation, oh my God, Weimar Republic, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Contessa, yeah, that kind of stuff. And that is definitely a thing that happens, okay? In no way do I want to pretend like that doesn't. It happens. It happens more often than you think, actually. Because Hungary's had it. Romania's had it. Several places have had it that you probably don't even know about. Romania's done it a few times, actually. Argentina comes to mind. Lots of it there. The point you need to know is that there's a huge difference between debasement and inflation. Now, I only bring this up because it can be confusing, and I'm looking for a topic for Silver University videos, and this is a good one. Debasement versus inflation. And this is also important because debasement probably isn't a thing anymore. Because most countries, all countries, run on fiat. What's fiat? Well, I'm not trying to get too deep into this, guys. But basically, it means by decree. It means that the money, the currency has value. Because people would get angry at me if I said money. But actually, I would argue there's a slight amount of intrinsic value still involved, even with this debased money that we use now. And I'll give you an example of a coin that's not debased at all. That's still still made, still available for purchase, although not at face value very often. I do know one person that tried to sell me one of these at face value. A guy at work, and you know what I told him? You guys know what I said to him, right? No, I'm not going to buy that from you for $1. He said, oh, I heard you like coins, so I figured I'd let you have it for $1. My grandpa gave it to me, as a birthday present when I was a kid. Well, what'd I do, guys? I said, no, I would offer you a fair price, but here's the thing. I don't even want that. I want you to keep it. That's what I told them. They said they had kept it in a safe. Their grandpa gave it to them, but they figured I'd like it more than they would. And they offered it to me for $1. And I said, not on your life. But that aside, that's a once in a lifetime deal, right? We still have silver coins being made. They're commemoratives, like here you go. So this could be debased, and if it were debased, it would look like a Sacagawea dollar, right? See? So I'm going to explain the differences between debasement and inflation. I'm still glad this pawn shop didn't know the difference between a proof ASE and a regular. Oh man. Still pretty happy about that. All right. Now look, guys, I'll screw a pawn shop all day. Hey, they screw people for a living, okay? Especially the big chains. Like if they're honest, like if you're talking like local coin store, I'm not going to screw them over. But you start talking about a chain that I've seen screw people over. Like one time I walked in and watched them screw somebody, and then they quoted me a price for something that was like way below melt, stupid below melt. That is the key date, by the way. We got it for 35. This was from a pawn shop. So, true story. Most of my bullion I get at pawn shops. When I go in there and I see a deal, man, I'll grab it. They don't, apparently they didn't know a 96 was a key date, so I grabbed it. I got a couple of 96s that way. Anyway, enough of that. We got to stay on subject. I wish I had a script sometimes. This would be one of the videos where you're probably watching it and you're like, this guy sucks. And you're probably right. But I do have a perfect example of debasement right off the bat. So this is the original purity of our $50, right? I want to show this to you because there is a point to this. Okay? Then we moved in 1836, I believe it was. We went a different direction. We said we don't want 89% silver anymore. We're going to go with 90% silver. So we went with this. And, I mean, they did change the weights, by the way. But 90% stayed. It stuck. Okay, then we get to our barber, right? And our barber's, pretty cool, right? Silver weight hasn't changed since then. And the later seeded have the same silver weight as well. Like this one would, $11 ain't bad. Anyway, that one's going to have the same ASW, as do the commemoratives, right? So let's see here. I got a bunch of commemoratives that I can show you. Here's one. So this has the same silver weight, right? And you can get these, near the same price sometimes if you buy them in lots. I've noticed. Same thing with the, if you get lucky. This I got at a local coin store, but it wasn't a coin store. It was like a pawn shop. It was like a bond. It was a buy-sell trade store. And this sumbitch is in nice shape. It's one of my favorite coins, actually. I love the reverse on this coin. It's gorgeous. Anyway, I got that for $10.25. But the point is, this is all 90%. It all has an ASW of 0.3617. 3616, right? And that is the point. So, but something happened. Something really big. We're 8 minutes in. Oh, God. So something really big happened. And it's important. So we went to the Walker, right? And then we went to the Franklin, right? Finding the Franklins. There's a point to this, I swear, right? That's the Franklin, same silver weight, same purity, right? Then we hit the Kennedy, okay? 0.3617, 90%. Look at that. Oh boy, we got this for $10. Well, good deal, right? But then something happened, guys. Something big. Same exact design, same exact size coin, same exact nominal value in the currency, but look at that. Less than half the silver. Less than half the silver. But I got that for 50 cents, so that's still fine. But that's not the point. I got this coin roll, honey. I remember when I found this. Yeah. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, it doesn't matter what I paid for it. The point is, this coin is a debased version of this coin. It's the same coin, same denomination, right? Same size, same diameter. Now, it doesn't have to be, and we're going to talk about that. That's why you had to grab so much silver. Because there's different ways you can debase a coin. And I'm going to show you several different ways, okay? And then we'll get into hyperinflation and why it's different. And then finally in 82, they came back to the commemoratives and started doing it right again. So You know, there's been a few silver halves. I think they started making silver halves in 1992, but don't quote me on that. They were for silver sets. So just keep that in mind, guys. I believe it was 92, but don't. It's a 92S special set, but you can get them. And so that's important to know. Before that, the last silver coin you could get was the 76 special set, commemorative set, 40% silver. And that is the only, the proof and the circulating strikes are the only 40% quarters that were ever minted that I know of. All right. Now, moving right along. I showed you that first because it's U.S. coinage, guys. And you know U.S. coinage. I know everybody here, if you're watching this channel, has held U.S. coins in your hand. Okay? Now, you know that in 64, they debased the quarter, the half, the dollar. Oh, wait, not the dollar. The dollar went out in 35. Well, yeah, for general circulation. I meant the 10-cent coin. And so some were debased to cupra nickel. Others were based to 40%. The only ones debased to 40%, oddly enough, were the half dollars. And that's one of the reasons half dollars went out of favor. Why would you circulate a half dollar that's silver when you could use, the completely silverless coins and keep the half dollars in your pocket? If you think about it, it makes perfect sense. So the good money got hoarded, the bad money, or in this case, just the regular old currency, coin of the realm, got sent out. Okay, this is going to be for later. I'll set that there for later. That's for my buddy Tom's coins. Just a little feast for his eyes, because I just saw his video. He was telling me how much he loved these things. Now, there's another way you can debase your coinage, okay? So there's more than one way to skin a cat when you're debasing your money. And this is real money. This is money, guys. It's made of silver. It's money, okay? So, know your terms. Know your terms. But that is money. So when I say money, I mean money right now. But we can say currency too. In this case, they both apply. So here we go. This is a 2.5 guilder. This is a 2.5 guilder. But I'm going to go even further back and show you the real debasement here. You're gonna love this, guys. You're gonna love this. I think you're gonna love this. All right, hold on. We'll pause it while I find it. Oh, well, that was quick. All right. Let's actually look at this. So, this is one of the purest coins that ever circulated, at least in modern times. This is your 94.5%. So forget sterling silver. This is Netherlands silver. Okay, pretty nice coin for $30. But that's not the point. The point is, they went from that to this. Now, if you look, the coins are about the same size. So this is your normal debasement. The coins are the same size, right? But they lowered the purity. And the silver weight dropped from 7.596 to 0.5787. That is a significant, that's a quarter ounce of silver just boop, gone by lowering the purity. Okay, so you see that? That's one type of debasement that you can do. All right, this is important, guys. Here's the next level. This is what they do next. So 2.5 guilder, 2.5 guilder. See that? And we'll look on the back. I'll prove it to you. 2.5 guilder, 2.5 guilder. The purity of this coin is 720. The purity of this coin is 720. You see that? What's the difference between the two coins, though? They debased it. They have taken this coin and they've shrunk it down and kept the same face value on it. That's another way that you can debase your currency, okay, guys? This is important stuff. And that is why sometimes knowing the years of your coins is important. Okay. I could show you with Mexico some real debasement. Actually, that's a good idea. And I can show Tom's coins what I wanted to show him too. All right, let me pause it while I get that out. All right, we will. We're going to go to Mexico real quick. In Mexico, in 1909, right, the coins were chunky, big, like U.S. half dollars, right? Even more pure at 0.9027, right? Look at that, 0.9027. Nice, chunky coins. Then, Mexico has a big civil war. And when they came out of the Civil War, they were putting this stuff out. Now, note how much smaller this is than this. Thinner, lighter. Look at the silver weight difference. Debasement, right? Huge debasement. There's almost half as much. Well, I wouldn't say half as much. 60% as much silver in here as there is in that other coin. This is a pretty hard date. That's why I paid that much for it. But that's not the point. The point is, the next year, which I don't have one, or the year after, I can't remember if it was 20 or 19, but they switched it to 72%, which dropped it a whole damn near tenth of an ounce just by dropping it that 0.08 percentage. Or 0.08 fineness, not percentage. The coin size is the same. The design's the same. Everything's the same. But this is an 80% silver coin. This coin is a 72%. And look at that. Now you're just over $50 in the U.S. worth of silver versus the same amount as, say, 5 franc in Switzerland, right? Huge difference. Huge difference. And then it just got worse from there, guys. It got worse from there. They debased and debased and debased, and then they went to this peso, which was only 50% silver. I had that for $4.50 though, so it's still under melt. But that's not the point. The point is, it's corroded too, so you know. It's not even a quarter of an ounce, whereas the other one was over a third of an ounce. Well, they weren't done yet. They debased it again. Yeah, 30% silver. Less silver in this than there is in a 1 franc or a quarter. And this is a whole peso, guys. This is a whole peso. It's still under melt. That's not the point. All right. But then they wiped their butts. Yeah. They took it and wiped their butts with it. They said, silver. Sure, it's silver. The Mexican war nickel. The herpes of silver coinage from Mexico. All right. I'm not going to harp on about it too much. Real quick, we're going to show off Tom's coins. Especial. So he loves these. So I didn't know he loved these. If I knew, right, I'd have told him I got this one for $4.85. Shh, don't tell him. I paid a little more for that one. The point is, right, that I want him to know that if he wants me to, I'll keep an eye out for some deals on some Cinco pesos for him. Right? This one was $12.12. Yeah. Not too bad. Not too bad. I got more. I don't know where they're at. Hold on. I gotta find these things. Oh, here's one. Here's a Cinco peso. Or no. That's 25 pesos. Never mind. Well, I don't know where they're at. It's okay. I might grab the wrong book. It don't matter. Just wanted to show him that. I'm not a huge fan of those coins. He is, and that is awesome that he likes them. I don't know. There's just something unsettling about that profile. The pose of. I'll show you. There's a Cinco or Diaz peso with the same portrait effigy. That's the term. Hidalgo. I don't know. I find it unsettling. So I don't tend to buy these. But I understand why people do. They are cool. They're big honking coins. All right. Anyway, we got to get off the Mexican stuff. We got to get to my point. There's another way you can debase a coin. Besides shrinking and changing the content. Okay? And this one is a dirty trick. Like the dirtiest trick ever. And I'm going to show it to you. And man, oh man, is it rough. It's kind of like what the United States did. All right. Here we go. So in ancient Rome, right, the Italians were the great-great-granddaddies of cheating people on their silver. So the original denarius was about pure silver back in the Republic days. But it wasn't too far into the Roman Empire that we started dropping the purity, right? Which, but then finally they started silvering the coin. So this is a silvered Antontinenus. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Antontinenus Probus. Anyway, these coins are they're not even plated. They're minted in bronze and then dipped in silver. So they're silvered. This is a silvered coin. Now, there might be a little silver in the alloy, so it might be billing. But everything that makes it look silvery is because it's dipped. And they were trying to make it look like these. And if that plating hadn't come off, it actually kind of does, doesn't it? So that's another way that you can cheat the system that I thought was pretty neat that I'd show you guys. But yeah, debasement versus inflation. And now I'm going to show you another real quick example. Let's go to Turkey. This is a coin from 18th century Turkey, right? It's almost 50% silver, which is pretty debased for back then. It's about as much silver as a $50, right? And I got a hell of a deal on it. But that's not the point. The point is, by the 1800s, right? The coins are being made out of 22% silver. So this is in there, 1800s, 1830. So you're talking 100 years later, we've already dropped the silver content more than half, right? That's pretty crazy. And that's called billing. So they've debased it to the point where it's not even considered a silver coin anymore. It's now a billing coin, which just means the alloy has less than 20% silver in it. Okay, so there's that. But now I can show you actual inflation. Okay, inflation is different because every coin I've showed you so far kept the same amount, right? As far as the denomination of the coin. In other words, the 2.5 guilders were 2.5 guilders. The pesos were still pesos, on and on. Now we're going to talk about a different kind of devaluation that comes with hyperinflation. Okay, and that is inflating the actual unit value of the coin. So these two coins are roughly the same size. Would you agree? And we're just for our purposes, we're going to pretend they're the exact same silver weight. Okay, I believe this one's slightly lighter, right? But 1941, right? This is the Kingdom of Romania. All right, check this out. 500 lei, right? Now, same size coin. The difference in the silver weight's actually negligible. It's like less than a tenth of an ounce. But look at the difference. You see that? In the nominal value. You're looking at 100,000 lei in just the span of 5 years. They had devalued the currency that much. And if you go back to the 30s, that's 100 lei. All right. It's not as big, so, this is still, these probably can be in the same world. This can't be in the same world. And then here's another 46 coin that's comparable in size to this one. They're about the same size. Similar silver weights, right? But look at this. 25,000 lei versus 100 lei. This one's under melt. Is this one under melt? It's close. It might be under melt. They're probably both under melt. Okay, guys, that's our lesson. That's the difference between hyperinflation or just inflation and devaluation or debasement. If you guys have any examples that I didn't cover, I mean, obviously we're 30 minutes into this thing, guys. Have an amazing day. Find all the collectibles of your dreams while you're awake. If you cannot find them, do not blame me. I tried to show them to you, I promise. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I know this one was long. Tom's Coins. I hope you enjoy those 5 pesos. Take care, guys.